Hello.
Hello.
How are you?
I'm doing good. How you doing? Oh, it's
No.
good. We got this connected now.
Yeah, it seems to be working fine. You sound great, actually.
Cool.
I can hear myself a little bit, but that's fine.
Let me just.
Oh, maybe because from the
There we
stream.
go. I had to hit the stream.
Gotcha. So you're one of
Yeah.
the people that worked on this, huh?
Yeah. I'm Danny. I'm the one who's Firefoot, and my partner Cape here. He's Faux-Operative Games.
Yeah, but we're both
Okay.
really cooperative.
Yeah.
All right, cool. Well, I'm enjoying what you guys have put out so far. I'm looking forward to seeing, like, I know your Kickstarter just started today, so once it gets funded, I'm looking forward to seeing how much more you guys are able to add into it. Right now, I'm actually surprised. Usually you don't see games this ready to go before a Kickstarter is even out.
Yeah. I mean, we felt since we're new developers that we should have something more to be able to show off, kind of something that we could walk in and be like, hey, look, we can actually code.
Yeah, basically, that was the idea.
Oh yeah, for sure. Especially it's such a competitive market for like indies lately.
Yeah,
it's
it really
been a
has
boom.
been. It's definitely kind of like the modern, like our generation's gold rush.
Yeah, for sure.
But it seems that way, but maybe that's not actually so accurate.
Like, it
But anyway,
definitely was probably about 2012 after, like, Indie Game the Movie and Super Meat Boy and stuff hit in 2010. I know a lot of people spend a couple years getting a lot of stuff out in, like, 2012, 2013. Maybe it's calmed down a little bit now, but I'm not really sure, honestly.
if I could be honest though, a big part of the reason I think that there was kind of that indie gaming renaissance, I think this is the thing nobody really wants to talk about, is that those games were so good.
They were.
Yep. They were really kind of one of a kind stellar games. Like they were kind of like Nuclear Throne, that they just occupy the space and they go like, I'm basically a perfect example of what I'm trying to do. So, when we're all comparing ourselves to these games, you got to really like keep in mind, oh, those guys kicked ass.
Oh yeah,
so maybe
for
that's
sure.
so well too, not just that it's an overcrowded market or whatever.
So keeping that in mind, like, it's hard to talk about your game really without bringing up things like Nuclear Throne, recently Enter the Gungeon. There's a little bit of Hyperlight Drifter in here as well. Like,
Yeah.
is it daunting to be like to have a game that compares so much to these like pillars of the gaming industry for like the type of stuff it's doing?
In some ways it is, but it also kind of gives us a good roadmap of what kind of works, what things, like for instance the haptic feedback of Nuclear Throne. We wanted to do whatever we could to capture that, and so those games are really informative. And we felt that the melee space wasn't really quite as filled, and a lot of them were kind of a slower pace, at least in terms of how your character moves. So we wanted to kind of address that, and also like it was interesting because there's certain things those games just don't do by the nature of being shooters that we wanted to be able to do kind of in this different format.
Right, yeah. I can
But
definitely...
like in a different style a little bit,
Mm-hmm. So, like, I'm assuming that you're big fans of those games. Like, there's a lot of definitely Nuclear Throne in here. It feels very much like that game.
That was a huge influence on us, definitely.
Yeah, we studied those guys very carefully, and there's some things we do really differently, and it gets pretty granular. Like, so when you hit an enemy, we have like I think 7 frames of stop frames for that enemy, and then they flash white, and then they go into their pain animation, and then they fly backwards, and then they die.
Right.
So Nuclear Throne, when you kill an enemy, they don't die after they fly away. They die before. And the other thing is they have like 2 frames of the flash before the enemy gets knocked back. And so it's like you can't just copy everything they're doing exactly and expect it to work well because the game's too different.
Sure.
But we definitely took that idea and like kind of used it as we could, because the game's so hectic. We wanted that extra frame stop, so you really get a chance to go, okay, what just happened? Who did I just hit? Who's not a threat anymore because they're about to get knocked away?
Right. It's a lot of information to read, especially in Melee.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's definitely been one of the biggest challenges, is making the screen readable while there's 100 enemies flying at you and spells from all different directions and just all the chaos that you're seeing on the game.
Not to mention that the player is moving like twice as fast a lot of the time than a lot of our, like when you're dashing and trying to move fast, especially if you have speed upgrades and stuff, you're really flying. So that creates some challenges as well. But because it's such a weird thing to do and it creates so many difficult questions, a lot of other people, I don't feel like, have explored this that much. Because it's always just like, well, why do that? I could just make the guy move slower and make my life 1,000 times easier.
Right. So, like, besides what we've already talked about, what other type of difficulties do you think you guys face over something like Nuclear Throne and Enter the Gungeon, where it's all very much about being kind of far away and being able to shoot stuff, and your game is all about getting right up in the business?
I think a big part of it is really trying to make each enemy readable at a glance. Trying to make it so you're like, all right, it's a rat. I know it's gonna hurt me if it touches me. It's a slime. It's in the air. That means it's dangerous now. Or
right.
Everything as immediately readable as possible. And beyond that, it's also keeping things fair. Like, because when there's 100 rats attacking you, it has to be beatable, but it also could be a challenge. Like, how do we make the rats behave so that they're a threat by themselves, and they're also a threat when there's 100 of them, but both of those can be dealt with?
Right.
Yeah, so everything's tried to be designed like that. So, can you repeat the question for me real quick, EXO? Sure.
Yeah, no, it was just basically, like, where Nuclear Throne and Enter the Gungeon can kind of get by, I think, probably a lot of design problems, or like, they can fix a lot. Their solution for a lot of problems is that the player...
Range work. What you're referring to?
What's that?
To kind of balance.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's definitely been a challenge, because one of the things is, well, at the end of the day, these melee weapons, they all share a glaring similarity, which is that they're melee weapons, right?
Sure.
We can't have the same, like rockets that hit and shatter, or like weird plasma balls, or whatever crazy stuff they can just make into different projectiles.
Right.
But we try and keep the kind of effects still, but just put them on our spellbooks instead. And then the melee weapons are kind of like these mainstay space control, and so we try and make sure that each one, even if they have to fill a similar role, because they're like your main weapon. But we try and make sure each one fills a totally kind of different gameplay space and excels against different enemies. So it's kind of like for instance, if you get the large arc saw, it's huge, but it still only does one damage. It has a big wind up on it. So we never want you to, I'm just going to take the large arc saw because it's better. It's never really just better. It's more like you want to build your build in such a way that you have a tool to deal with each of the possible things that might happen.
Sure. That being said, there are the echelons of utility. Like, the gauntlet is maybe a little better, and the arc saw that you start with is clearly the worst.
Yeah.
But we want it to be more of like, at each different tier of quality, there's 3 or 4 comparable choices,
and they all behave differently in terms of their gameplay.
Yeah, that's cool. I know one of the problems I have with Gungeon, and like maybe we can address this a little bit, because I haven't gotten far enough in your game because I'm real bad at it to really know. But one of the things I really like about Binding of Isaac, and that I don't like so much in maybe a Nuclear Throne, and especially in Enter the Gungeon, is that I like the feeling that you can kind of do different builds with what you pick up, and they have synergies together, the different items. Is this something you guys take into account?
Yeah, that's the whole point. Okay, so in a lot of games like Nuclear Throne, right?
Yeah.
They have, in a lot of our style of games, there's kind of like a standard level up system, which is every time you level up, a little thing pops up, and there's 3 choices, and you pick the one you want.
Yeah.
And in our experience, and I love these games, and I'm not trying to criticize them at all, but in our experience, a lot of the time that boils down to just kind of selecting the things that you know are the best all the time.
Yep.
It's a really hard problem to avoid, mind you.
For sure.
But what we tried to do in Ruin of the Reckless is we attached the ability upgrades to these orbs. And since it's really hard to get the orbs you want, a lot of the time you're settling for orbs or saving up spots because you really want to do one specific thing, or trying to get them in the shop. So there's always a kind of like my main goal, or our main goal with that, was that when you get to the end of the game and you have a badass build, like maybe you have like double agility, regeneration, vampirism, siphoning, and a sword fire spellbook, and just like you're just dressed to the nines. You earned every piece of that by not destroying the orbs by mistake and not letting the slimes jump on them, and getting them when you could, and saving your slots for the right times when you could go get them. So we always want like picking up that orb to be a decision, and even when it's not, it'll be, oh, I want that. That's what I've been looking for. So it's not a decision, but you're going to be so excited that you actually got the orb and managed to eat it that I think players are going to be happy with it anyway.
Right. Now, conversely, on the other side of that, though, like in Binding of Isaac, one of the problems you can run into is that if you don't grab the item that you know will win you the game, you just won't win the game. So, while the synergies are fun, is there, like, any contingency plan in this game for, like, well, I really don't have anything going, oh, like, this game's version of, like, Brimstone just dropped, so I can finally maybe win or make it out of this jam I'm in? Or is it all pretty much based around synergies?
Well, here's the thing. A really, really good player, and don't get me wrong, this is, like, incredibly difficult, but a really, really good player, we always intend for a really amazing player to basically be able to walk around with just the basic weapon and the basic dash and no spellbook and kick a lot of ass. And you can. Like, if you see some of our beta testers who've been playing the game for a long time, I mean, they can bust that out. So we always want it to be hopeful, but we also want to preserve the power of those items, you know what I mean? So,
sure.
There's like the creator of Dark Souls, I can't remember his name, but he has this really awesome quote about how every game should have the chance for miracles, and we do want to have those miracle moments where you're kind of running down a corridor and being chased by a huge horde of enemies. First time you got into floor 8, and you really just want to see the next floor, and at the end of the hallway there's a lightning bolt spellbook sitting on the ground, and a quick charge orb right next to it. You just like eat them both real quick and just go crazy and save the day.
Yeah.
So we still have that be a thing.
Yeah, cool.
Oh, and the other thing you might have noticed is there's not as much vertical progression in the game. Like, you always are doing 1 damage per hit, and the enemies pretty much always do 1 damage per hit. So that's by design, you know, like the bosses don't have that much life. The abilities you have make it easier to hit them and easier to avoid getting hit, but they don't make them take less hits to kill.
Right. Okay, that's cool.
That being said, if you like use a spell in just the right way, you might be able to hit him 3 or 4 times with one spell, because he'll be like being hit by the different fireballs.
Exactly. So there's still a lot of stuff like that too.
Cool. All right.
Also, those projectiles that are being shot, you can block those with your weapon and like turn them around against the enemies.
Oh yeah, I keep forgetting all about that.
Yeah, it's important.
Yeah. I think I'm missing a lot of really important things to be somewhat competent at this game, but maybe time will get me better. Or just worse.
A lot of it's really cool. Enemies against each other, and trying to abuse the fact that when you hit enemies, they hit each other, and then they hit each other into each other, and it kind of causes this chain reaction. You can push back a lot of enemies in a wave just by hitting 1 or 2 guys.
Mm-hmm.
So, depending on your positioning, you can tackle the battles in ways that are, like, that was perfect, what you just did.
That room there?
Yeah.
The 5 skirmishers, yeah.
The skirmishers were winding up to hit you, and you were knocking the other skirmishers into them. So you're dealing damage to this and kind of making a safe space for yourself.
I'm not gonna lie, I felt pretty good. I have my moments. They're very few and far between, but they feel good. Fucking Bidoof. God damn it.
I've never called Bidoof before. But, you know, it's very fitting because Bidoof was my favorite Pokemon, and I just...
Wow, really?
Yeah, Bidoof, awful looking beaver. Can't evolve? I can't remember. But,
like Zigzagoon or something?
I had the max level Bidoof. He was my man.
Oh, what's with this invisible enemy? Bullshit.
That's the floor shooting fireballs at you through little portals.
Oh, I thought I saw an invisible enemy there.
That's the invisible enemy, which is a glitch.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
I have to say, the quality on your stream is really good.
thank you.
Gorgeous.
God damn it! Except for the gameplay, I died.
Oh, on our screen you're still alive, and it's awesome what's going on. Like a fireballs. Oh.
Yeah.
Oh. That was great.
Yeah, you broke the code. When you talk on stream about how well someone's doing, they instantly lose.
Dude, that was. I wish I had a video of that. I would love to turn that into a GIF. You're just in that room. There's fireballs going all around you, and you were just dodging in between them, fighting the. Oh, that was great.
Mm-hmm.
I love to see stuff like that.
That was pretty fun. Unfortunately, I have to start getting ready for a podcast I do in about half an hour here. So, I do have a few more questions for you guys before I head off, though.
Sure.
First of all, what are your go-to like upgrades in this game? Like, what do you like to do?
Yeah.
Well, we're also we've played the game like a disturbing amount, so
Sure.
we might value different things. I would say for newer players, pets are pretty good because they can keep you safe, especially the iron pet. And like you can never go wrong with thick skin because it like ups your total health pool. So that way, if you clear a floor perfectly, then all of a sudden you start stacking health, and you have like 8 or 10 health for when you hit that ridiculous floor that just starts wiping you out. And beyond that, I would say kind of going down one similar tree a lot can work out, like getting either a bunch of different like pet orbs, or a bunch of like say siphoning, and then spellmaster, so you can just spam spells and take out whole rooms of guys without even ever having to fight them.
Yeah, it definitely depends what items you find. Because say, for instance, if I'm walking around on the first floor and I just get a lucky drop, and one of the enemies drops a Book of Rain of Swords, right? Which is a really, really good spell that just destroys everything.
Right.
And then if I go, oh, well, on this level there's a siphoning orb and there's a quick charge orb, so I'm going to eat the siphoning orb, I'm going to try and level up, I'm going to get the quick charge orb too, and I'm just going to be the ultimate sword casting maniac for the rest of the game and try and lean on that to win. So that's always been our intention, that depending on items you find, like if you find a gauntlet soul, then there's an orb that is not in the alpha, but it will be there, that increases the range of your attacks. So with the gauntlet soul and that, it becomes like this pillar of destruction.
That sounds real cool.
Yeah, so I'm always trying to make little combos like that.
And like a couple other combos is like if you get the gust orb and pets, those go well together.
So good, yeah.
So you just sit kind of back and throw gusts out, and your pets rain destruction upon your enemies.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, you
like,
were saying that too. You're just like spam Gus, and when I started doing that, I was like, yeah, that's pretty cool, actually.
Or another good one is super jump boots and lightning, and then you just jump in there, and then you blast a lightning bolt all around you, and you can just clear whole rooms, and then you jump away real fast.
And there's also super jump boots and slash soul, because I don't know if you've noticed this, but if you get jump boots or super jump boots, there's a little trick which was originally glitched, but we left it in because I love it.
Okay.
Which is that if you attack and then immediately afterwards you dash, and you have to do it real fast, then you will jump through the air, but your weapon will kind of skate across the ground. It's really neat looking, and it just like you just fly past enemies and you do this kind of Hail Mary attack, where as long as the place you're going to land is safe, you're probably okay. It's like crazy to do, but it's almost like a spell on the amount of devastation it causes, but you're kind of putting your life at risk to do it. That's one of my favorite things to build. Especially super jump boots, because you can actually swing your sword, and then like say a shadow, you can hit him with the first hit of your sword, and then he goes rocketing backwards, and then you land on him with the super jump boots, and that makes a shockwave and kills him. So I mean, there's lots of little stuff like that in the game, and as we add more enemies and items and stuff, there's going to be all these little emergent properties that appear because of the number of different factors that weigh in.
Ooh, or like if you have a grappling hook and a shadow shoots at you, you can grab the fireball with the grappling hook. The fireball will run into the shadow, then the grappling hook will catch the shadow, pull it in, and you can punch it. It looks super cool.
So there's lots of little combos you can pull off by combining different abilities. I think that's part of the fun of the game.
God damn it, you're gonna make me want to try all this stuff. It kind of sounds like when you like play a fighting game for the first time and you really suck and you're like, oh, whatever. And then you like watch somebody at Evo pull off this amazing combo. You're like, oh, I get why people love this now. It sounds like there's a weird depth to the like item combinations you can do that I wasn't expecting.
Oh, there's all kinds of weird stuff. I mean, there's so many little emergent properties, and we're going to have probably a spell book that makes a little shield around you that will reflect stuff, and that'll cause all kinds of crazy stuff to happen. And the other thing I love is Charge Up Slash. If you find that, it's an offhand orb, and I like just getting that and then finding as many upgrade orbs for it as I can.
Yeah, once you get to 3, it changes the slash into a much bigger one, and it just creates like this flower of destruction around you.
Yeah,
That sounds really cool.
Any offhand ability, if you just keep upgrading it over and over again, is really fun. And they all become like these weird mainstay abilities that almost feel like character classes, which is what we were trying to make happen. So like if you get a Gust Orb and upgrade it 3 times, you become like this weird Force Pusher wizard that's just shooting out tornadoes everywhere all the time whenever he wants.
That sounds really cool. Are there any plans to do like challenge modes or something? Maybe later where like you just start the game with a certain loadout?
Yeah, so we're going to have a whole card system where you find these cards throughout the dungeon, and you can like equip a certain number of them before you start your run, and it will alter the dungeon in certain ways. So like, say there's one that will make it so there's no health potions in the game, and instead you only get like 1 health per floor, but you like slowly regenerate mana. So it's different things to change up kind of the basic rules of what's going on.
Yeah, they're all going to be like pushed. So there's going to be a couple cards that are just, we're going to give them to people when they reach certain kind of benchmarks that aren't very like, oh, I've died 10 times in a row without leaving the first floor. Then we're going to go, okay, here's this card to help you get through the first floor. And there's going to be a couple of those that just make the game easier, and those are going to be marked with like probably like beginner cards or something.
Okay.
And then the rest of the cards there's going to be also a couple that just make the game harder, which is just for kind of masochists that just want to mix and match these horrible things, like enemies dealing more damage to you when they hit you or stuff like that. Right. And then most of them are going to be kind of things that flip the script a little bit, like one that turns all the gold you find into experience, or one that turns all the experience you find into gold, or one that makes more high-level enemy appear earlier in the dungeon, but then that's good because they drop better stuff, right? But it's also bad because so everything's going to be kind of push-pull, and then maybe something about the game you don't like, you can just minimize it. Like people have a lot of customization as they unlock these cards to go, you know what, I'm kind of tired of finding all these spell books. Maybe I'll equip a card that just turns all my spell books into other items, and I'll just won't deal with spells or anything like that.
Any plans for like additional characters or any different like loadouts that you can start off with?
Yes. Okay, so we don't want to get into yet exactly what the difference of the characters are going to be. The characters are largely going to be the same, but each one will have one kind of special thing that sets them apart and kind of can play into your builds a little bit. But they're all going to have like awesome custom animations, and it really depends how much our Kickstarter makes. If you look at the stretch goals on the Kickstarter, we add these characters later. We've already designed them. We have concept art for them. We really want to put them in the game, but playable characters are really expensive to make. I mean, there's a lot of art there. There's a lot of design there. There's a lot of animation timings. So we can't just port over all the old animation timings. We have to code in new animation timings for the new character and stuff. So it's going to be a lot of work, but we're really excited to do it. And then, so that's Carruthers, the space capybara. And his spirit, he died because he was trying to do space wheelies to impress his girlfriend Bonnie. And space wheelies are the most dangerous stunt in the universe. And he died, now he's in the ruins. And the other character is Nika, and we don't want to spoil her backstory quite yet, but we'll be talking about it probably in an update, assuming we get up to that high funding.
Nice. That sounds cool.
And there's one more thing. Also, there's a reward on our Kickstarter page, which is the Reckless one, which someone told me they really wanted to buy, but they just had not enough money to do it. And it's to design your own playable character that's just whatever you want, and we will put it in the game. So we will be looking to make that character on the quality level of Stargrove, who's the one you see there. So it'll be like that full overhaul, and the person that buys that will have full control over how it works. In terms of like, oh, I want it to be like a bird frog man with, we're going to do our very best to make sure that it goes in exactly the way they want it and they're happy with it.
Oh yeah, that's cool. So like, you're talking a little bit about how like it costs a bunch of money to create new characters because of like design and all that sort of stuff. Do you guys do the like design and the art and all that stuff, or do you have like people that do it for you?
We do almost all of the coding. There's a small amount of coding that we have like some really awesome friends in the game maker community. They're some of the best coders, and we talk to them all the time about little things that we're dealing with and how we might fix them. And they've been incredibly helpful. But I'd say about 99% of the code was written by us.
Okay.
And what was your other question?
Oh, and then as far as art goes, we generally, hire different people to do the still frames, and then we animate everything.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we program the animations, but the actual animations are made by other people, and that's honestly where a lot of the, I'm sure as everybody knows, that's where a lot of the expense for these type of projects comes from. It's just needing to get pixel art made, and the pixel art that looks like this is complicated to get made, and it's generally pretty expensive, but we try our best to be like really smart about how we get this stuff done.
Sure. I know Homer's gonna have an aneurysm if I don't ask you, so who does the music?
Oh, that's Slime Girl. Well, there's actually two bands. So some of the songs you'll hear from Slime Girl are from Elrad, and they're a really cool indie rock band that does a little bit of chiptune stuff, and they were gracious enough to let us use some of their music, and it's awesome.
Nice.
And we also have some music from Slime Girls, which is just awesome. If you guys don't know Slime Girls, you should totally check them out. It's pretty much my favorite band. It's like chiptune rock. You can hear it in the game. I think it's awesome. And we're super excited because they're also maybe making a soundtrack for us. If we reach a high enough funding level, then Slime Girls is going to make us a totally unique 12-track OST, which is so cool because he's one of my favorite bands. And so if we make this funding level, I get to hear a new Slime Girls album and put it in my game.
Yeah, that sounds great. I think I know which songs. I've never heard of them before. I'm definitely going to look them up. But, like, there's a few songs here that sound very Anamanaguchi, and I keep relating it to Scott Pilgrim vs. the World, the game, and how, like, it just gives that upbeat nature that I really, really like. So, like, I really dig the music. I got to look them up for sure. And I hope you get funding to be able to get them to make it.
With your break video. I really thought it was awesome. That reminded me of Slime Girls too.
Yeah. Alright, cool. I said I was going to go pretty quick, but then that turned into I'll do another game or two, so I'm in the middle of a run right now.
Yeah, we always wanted to make it so the restart time on each run was like tiny.
Yeah,
it's like no more than 30 seconds to be playing again.
Yeah, for sure. Man,
alright, well, let's see how you do this time. We'll let you go after this run.
Yeah, sounds good. It's not going so great so far. One day, I'll learn.
Or did you start on Forgery?
I'm dead. I started at the...
Oh, you did? Oh.
Yeah. I kind of
like...
like...
I'm seeing Morph and I'm going, oh man, you got this. Don't... You got this. You totally take those guys out.
I'm so bad.
Alright, for sure. Thank you so much, everybody. Please check out our Kickstarter, guys. It's the first 3 days of the Kickstarter are by far the most important. Every contribution we get right now is worth like 4 times the ones we are going to get later. And so for anybody who wants the game or is interested, please consider backing. The only way this is going to happen is if people want it to happen, is pretty much where we are at this point.
Yep. I like... The way this all started is I saw some GIFs on Twitter. I thought it looked cool, and now playing it, I can definitely say that it plays very well for basically an alpha of a game. Like, it's kind of amazing already, so I'm super excited to see what else will be going into it, and I want to see you guys reach it so I can get more.
So much, Matthew. This was a really cool stream.
Yeah, thanks for streaming.
Can you put a link to our Kickstarter in your chat and just let everybody know that we're out there and we're working it?
Yeah, absolutely. I already have one programmed in Nightbot there. All right, so...
if you ever want to stream again or work together again, you just let us know.
Yeah, for sure. This was awesome. So, Rune of the Reckless. Look it up on Kickstarter. There's a link in the chat. And thank you guys for watching. We'll talk to you later.
Yeah, thanks for playing. Glad you had fun.